Hello, my fellow tech enthusiast. Welcome to my channel WTF, What the Framework. Whether you are a seasoned pro, new to coding, or just need to refresh some topics before your interview, you are in the right place. This marks the beginning of a new learning series playlist. WTF is ServiceNow. And today I'm excited to dive into the topic of Glide Record and its significance in ServiceNow development. Glide Record is like a Swiss Army knife for developers working in the ServiceNow development. It's a powerful API that allows us to interact with data in ServiceNow's database tables. From retrieving record to updating them and even creating new ones, Glide Record empowers us to effectively manage data within ServiceNow. Throughout this video, we'll explore various aspects of Glide Record, including its syntax, best practices, and practical example. Whether you are building custom application, automating workflows, or enhancing existing processes, understanding Glide Record is essential for maximizing your potential as a ServiceNow developer. So buckle up and get ready for an enlightening journey into the world of Glide Record and ServiceNow development. Without wasting more time, let's get our hands dirty and write some code. Before we jump into the explanation, let me give you a bit of context. I'm currently coding in the personal developer instance of ServiceNow. This You can get your own personal developer instance for free from ServiceNow developer site. I'll make sure to include the link in the description below, so be sure to check it out. Now, how did I reach this place, which you can see on your screen right now? For that, once you get your ServiceNow developer instance, on the top bar, you need to go select all, and under the search, you need to type background. And under the system definition, you can go and select scripts background and you'll reach this place. So what is script background? It is a place where ServiceNow developers can test their code or create the code before they actually add it to a scripting location. So it's a very useful tool to debug as well as execute your code for testing purposes before adding it to the exact scripting location. Let's start studying about the Glide Record API. We are going to study Glide Record API by using it over one of the most famous operations, not only in ServiceNow but under the complete full stack development, that is the CRUD operation. CRUD stands for Create, Read, Update, Delete, Record from a table. And for this instance, it is the ServiceNow table. So the first use case, what we are going to have is that we need to retrieve all records from incident table that has urgency set to 1. So whenever we get such type of questions, not only in interview but also in our daily use cases as a ServiceNow developer, the first thing what we need to do is that we need to initialize a instance of the incident table. And for initializing the instance of an incident table, we can make use of the Glide Record API. It's a simple one-line code to initialize an instance of a table. So what we need to do is that we need to go and create a new Glide Record instance. For that, var gr. Okay, I'll just name the table, initialize the table on one incident gr is equal to new glide record. That is the API's name, the Glide Record. And since we're initializing a new instance of the Glide Record API, we are giving the keyword new on front of it. So new Glide Record. And the Glide Record, this is a constructor, and the constructor expects one parameter. And that parameter is the name of the table you want to get inside. So the name of the table here is the incident table. So the next thing what we need to do, since we already have the incident table instance initialized, the next thing which we need to do is the next part of our code. That is, we need to find all the records which have urgency set to 1. For, okay, let's do one thing. Instead of setting the urgency to 1, let's set the urgency to 3. So what we need to do right now is that to set to find only those records that has urgency set to 3 in the incident table, we need to add a query. So the next step is add a query. Now for adding query, the glide record has given us a lot of helper class functions, and one of the helper function is called add query. So what I'm going to do in incident gr dot add query, going to use the helper method, and this helper method expects two parameters. The first parameter is the name of the field. The name of the field, as you know, is the urgency field. So I will give the first parameter name as urgency, because that is the field which we want to look for. And what is the value of the field that has to be? So in our case, in our use case, the value of the field is 3. So let's enter 3. Now what we need to do is that we need to tell the ServiceNow that to start the query. To start the query, we need to add the ServiceNow Glide Record API gives us another helper function called query. So we need to do incident gr dot query to start the query. Now the problem is, or not the problem, the next step is, what we need to do is that we need to retrieve all the records, and let's print those records once we retrieve it. So what we are going to do is that, as we know, we have the while loops in JavaScript. So the while loop iterates over each record and prints the record on the system. So that's similarly what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is that we are going to do while, create a while loop, creating while loop and printing records of incident number. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create a while loop, and inside the while loop we need to add incident gr.next. This thing is very necessary because this will tell the glide record API that after querying over the one record, we need to go to the second record. After querying the second record and printing the result of the second record, we need to go to the third record. If we don't add incident gr.next, then it will only query one record and print the data of one record. But that is not what we require. We require to retrieve all the records from the incident table that has urgency set to 3. Since we need to retrieve all the records and not one record, we need to iterate over the loop. And to iterate over the loop of records, we need to pass .next helper function that we get from glide record API. So once we add the query and we then run the query, and then we iterate over the each record by using the while loop. And when we iterate over each record, we can print those records. So for printing those records, we will use gs.print. To understand more about GS, that's the Glide System API, we will be making another short video to explain to you guys more in detail. So what I'll be doing is that gs.print to print the record, and then I will just give, say, the incident number with urgency 3 is, and I will just give incident gr. We have the record and we can pull, and what we need to print is the number of the incident which has the urgency set to 3. So incident gr dot number. So number is another field in the in the incident table. So what I'll do is that I will just run the script, and as you can see there I have got a complete list of all the records in an incident table that has urgency set to 3. So if you see IN00100 till IN0010054, these are the records. Now let's begin learning with the second operation under the CRUD, that is the create operation. The first operation which we covered was reading, the reading of a record from an incident table. But now what we will be doing is that we will be creating a new record inside an incident table. So the use case what we have got is that to create a new record in incident table by adding short description as testing WTF is ServiceNow. So this is quite easy and very much easier compared to the previous one. First, the first step for each and every operation is that we need to initialize a instance of a glide record class of incident table. So the first thing which we are going to do is that we are going to initialize a glide record API class with incident table. So that is same as the one which we did previously. I hope you guys remember. So the thing is that we need to do var incident gr is equal to, since we are creating a new instance of the glide record, we will add the keyword new, the name of the API, the glide record. And as you remember, though, it's a constructor and it requires one parameter, and the one parameter that it requires is the name of the table, and currently the table which we are getting into is the incident table. So I'm going to write down incident. So yes, the first part is done. The second part, what we need to do is that we don't need to add any query like the one which we did previously for retrieving a data. We are not adding queries since we require to create a new data, and for creating a new data we don't need to fetch any old data. So all we need to do is that we need to query just the normal query, but not adding a query, but just running a query over the table. So what we are going to do is that running a query but not adding query for filtering data. So what I'm going to do is that incident gr query. Now the thing is, when the incident table was created, there must be certain business rules which must be created out of the box by ServiceNow that adds certain default fields, like for example the urgency, the priority, the number field which we have. So these fields are default added. So we need those default value fields also to be added to our new record. So we will be using the helper function, a new helper function of the glide record API, that is new record. So adding default values to the new record. So for adding the new default values to the new record, what we're going to do is that incident gr dot we are going to use the helper function provided by the glide record API, that is new record. By doing this, all the default values that should be set for our new record will be set before being added to the database. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to focus on the second part. Now since we have initialized a new instance of glide record with the incident class, we have the incident table. We already have the incident table in front of us. We have already queried it and we have already added the default value. Now the second part is left, is that is adding the short description as testing WTF is ServiceNow. So what we are going to do is that incident, for adding or updating any field, all we need to do is that we need to select the record, that's incident gr dot. What is the name of the field? The name of the field is short description. So I will just show you the field now. Going to the incident form. Incident. So I'll just open one of the form in incident table. And as you can see, there are many fields inside the form, and one of the field is short description. We want to edit, or we want to add our custom short description to the new record to this field. So if you want to know what is the name of the field, since this is the label and this is not the name of the field, we are going to right click on short description and see show. And under show we can come to know the actual value of this field. The value of the actual name of the field, I'm sorry, the name of the field is short underscore description. So what we're going to do is that we are going to add the field's name, which we want to add our custom description. So short description equal to, and the name and the description what we want, testing WTF is service now. And then this doesn't do the entire trick. So now what we have done is that we have added default value, and also we have added a new short description to the new record. So what the next part is that we have created the record, but we have not inserted the record to the database yet. So for inserting this record to the database, it is very important that you don't forget to use one of the most important helper function for provided by the Glide Record API for adding your record to the database. That is the insert function. So after initializing, after adding the default values, and after adding your own custom values to the fields, what we need to do is that we need to use the helper function incident.gr dot insert. And by using this and running this, we have finished creating a new record inside an incident table. So to test this, what we are going to do is that we are going to go to the incident table, and we are going to select created. I hope there is opened. Okay, let's go to open and let's filter it. Let's filter it from the recent first. So what we are seeing is that the short description of the recent record we have is planning test. So what we are going to do is we are going to run the script and create a new record, and we will check that on the incident table whether the new record has been created. So I'll just run the script, and you can see that we have got a log of all for the information for the script that we have created. Let's go to the incident table and just let's refresh it. And as you can see, the first record, that is INC 0010055. So I'll just open this record in a form view, and this is a form view, and inside the form view, as you see, the short description testing WTF is service now. We can ignore this part for now, that is the bracket, the things under the bracket, that's 5 planning. So basically what is this is, it's a business rule which is running, a before business rule which is running, that will add the priority as a prefix to the short description. So this is a custom business rule, you just need to ignore it for now, and what you will be getting on your screen is this, testing WTF is service now. Now let's start learning about the third operation, that is the update operation using the Glide Record API. We have got a use case scenario in which we need to update all the urgency. We need to update the urgency to 2 for all the records in the incident table that has urgency equal to 3. So what we need to do is that we need to update the urgency to 2 for all the records in the incident table that has urgency set to 3. So for using a Glide Record API, for the first thing which we need to do is to initialize the Glide Record API instance. So initialize the Glide Record API with incident class. So we'll initialize a variable var incident gr, and inside that we'll initialize the Glide Record API with the incident class. So next what we need to do is that we need to query. That is, we need to use the helper function of the Glide Record API, that's add query, to find out all the records inside the incident table that has urgency set to 2. So that after we retrieve that record, we can update the urgency of those records to 3. So we remember and we learned that the helper method that is used to query a record on a table is by using Glide Record API is add query. So we will use the same thing, adding query and query with urgency set to 2. So incident gr dot add query, as we remember, the first parameter which it accepts is the field's name. The field is urgency, and the value of the field which we want to retrieve the record for is the 2. Then what we need to do is that we need to perform the query. Perform query. And for performing query, we need to add the helper method, as we remember, that is query. Without doing this, the API won't go inside the database and query the table. So this is a very important function, that is dot query. The next thing which we need to do is that we need to iterate over the loop of records that we received. So for that we got the while loop, and inside the while loop we need to use another helper function dot next to iterate over the next record after getting the first record, that is incident gr dot next, and we have learned this previously as well. And then what we need to do is that this is the most simplest part. All we need to do is that since we have all added the query of urgency to 2, and then we have queried and we have all the record, like we inside the while loop we are getting one by one record of all the incidents that have urgency set to 2. All that we need to do is that fetch that incident record, go inside the urgency by dot walking it, that selecting the field that's urgency and just updating it to 3. The next thing what we need to do is that the most important part, by just adding incident gr dot urgency is equal to 3, that's a string value, won't update the record in the database. To update the record in the database, we need to add one more helper function provided by the Glide Record API, that is update function, that is incident gr dot update. By doing this, we complete the entire procedure of updating a record in an incident table. So what, for a better understanding, what we are going to do is that before running the script, we are going to go to the incident table, and inside the incident table under the filter option we are going to click on filter icon, go to urgency, and what we need is that we need to update urgency to 2. Okay, sorry, we need to update the urgency to 2, so we need to set this as 3 because we need to find those records which has urgency as 3 and update it to 2. I'm really sorry for the confusion. So yeah, we need to find the records with urgency as 3 and update it to 2. So what I'm going to do is urgency is 2, and I'm going to run the record, and if you see we have 13 records with urgency set to 2. So what I'm going to do, sorry, urgency. Okay, I'm so sorry. We need to find urgency set to 3. So what we are going to do is that we are going to go to urgency set to 3, run, save. So as you can see, we have 31 records with us. So what we are going to do is that, and let's open one of the record. That's 1005. So if you see here, the urgency is 3. So what we need to do is that we have got the urgency equal to 3 record and we need to set it to 2. And this code is going to help us do that. So once we run the script and then we refresh, we won't find any urgency that is set to 3 because all we have updated to 2. And this record will also get updated to urgency set to 2. So I'll just run the script. And yes, we have got the logs out here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to refresh and you will see that there are 0 records. Yup, as you see, there is no records to display. The reason behind this is because we have set the urgency of all the records which has 3 to 2. Now, if you want to prove, what we can do is that see this determines that there is a change in the field value. So as you can see that the urgency has also been updated to 2, which was previously 3. I hope you guys understand the update functionality operation, that is the delete operation by using the glide record API. We have a use case in which we need to delete records with short description as. So let's go and take a random incident record and take the short description, that is wireless access is down in my area. We can take any random incident record and copy the short description from it. So we have got this use case. So what do we need to do is that, as we remember, always with the glide record we need to initialize the glide record first. So initialize. So var incident gr is equal to new glide record and the table name. Then what we need to do is that we need to find out all the records with the short description field set to wireless access is down in my area. So for that we know how to filter out data. To filter out data we have practiced 3 times before, that is by adding query. So let's add query. Incident gr dot add query, and what is the field name, that is short description, and what's the value which we want to find, that's wireless access is down in my area. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start the query, and we know the function which is important, that without that the query won't begin, even though we have added the query, that is the query helper function dot query. And after doing that we are going to loop over all the records retrieved and delete them. So what we are going to do is that we are going to while use the while loop and iterate over each record. So while, and you know the parameter which we need inside this is the next function parameter, next function helper function. So yeah, while incident gr dot next. And then what we are going to do is that, okay, so there's one of the best practices that before deleting any record permanently from the ServiceNow table, it's always recommended to print the record that you're going to delete before deleting it. So what I'm going to do is gs.print delete record number. I'm going to print the record number before deleting it. So incident gr dot number. So yep, so we have initialized a class of the glide record, we have added the query, we have started the query, and we are looping over each record one after the other. As you remember, the dot next is required so that we loop over the next record after getting the previous record. So yeah, so we'll just set run, and if you see there's only one record with 003. So for finding out that, what we'll do is that we'll go to the incident table, we'll add a query just to confirm it, and we'll write short description, sorry, and is, and we'll add the name, and we'll run. And as you see, we have only got one record, that is INC003, that is a similar one to the one which we have here. So what we are going to do, okay, so if you want to know that if you can print the caller name as well, so what we can do is that all we need to add, we need to dot work to that field, like the one we dot work to number to get the number field value. So if you want to get Joe employee printed, so we can do caller dot id. So I'll just go here back, and if you see, I'll just add, and the name caller name is incident gr dot caller id. So that is the name of the field, and if I run it, I will get the sys id. The reason why I get the sys id is because if you see here, if you click on show caller id, it is a reference field. So it is pointing to the sys id of the user Joe employee. So the sys id of the user Joe employee is 681cc9f and so on. But this is just a bonus. If you want to retrieve the name of the person, the first name, all you need to do is dot first name, dot walk into that. We will talk about this dot walking later in the next coming videos. And then run script, we'll come to know INC and the caller name is Joe. The record number and the caller name is Joe. So we confirm that the record we are looking for is the Joe employee, and that is the right record. So I'll just add the filter back again because it just went away. A short description is okay. Run. So yeah, we are sure that the first name is Joe and the record number is the one which we want. So since we are so sure about the record which we are going to delete and we are okay with it, what we are going to do is that all we need to do is that use a helper method provided by the glide record API, that is delete record, and this deletes the record which we have fetched, that is with this incident number, that is ending with 003. So what I'm going to do is that delete the record by running the script, and when I refresh it, I won't get the record here. So run script, and yep, let's refresh it, and as you see, there is no records to display. This shows that the script has worked. The script has worked, and we have deleted the record with a short, which all the records, that means with short description, that as wireless access is down in my area. Alright folks, that wraps up our explanation of glide record in ServiceNow. I hope this video helped you grasp the concept of CRUD operation and how we can effortlessly achieve them using the glide record API. Now remember, learning doesn't stop here. If you found this video helpful and informative, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insightful content. Also, we are always looking for your input. If you have any specific topic or questions you'd like us to cover in our next video, please drop a comment down below. Your feedback helps us to tailor our content to your need. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, happy coding.